Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here again with another video, and I must apologise. I did say that when the TV schedule started again, there'd be a good chance that we'd struggle to upload any videos. Well, it's been about 5 or 6 days at the time of recording this one since we uploaded something to the channel. Obviously, been incredibly busy with the start of the E-League season, and been pretty sick actually after the very hectic week. I still in and out and susceptible to infection. So been having a bit of a fever and whatnot for the past few days, with a compound hangover, of course. So only really just starting to get my stuff together now in terms of being able to record a video. But I'm going to address a pretty important topic today, and that is I'm going to talk about all of this YouTube versus the mainstream media, ad gate apocalypse, whatever fucking hashtag it's trending under today. And I guess I just want to outline kind of a few things right at the start. So I've seen a lot of people talk about how this is the mainstream media attacking a platform to undermine it because they're jealous, because new media is hands down beating old media. Now, I think there's an element of that in this particular issue. But I must say, I don't think it's the entirety of the argument, and I think anybody that thinks it is probably missing a bigger picture. What we need to address, first of all, is that in a hierarchical structure of a media company, the very top, the upper echelons, the people that own newspapers and TV companies, entire networks, they obviously have digital things in their portfolio. The idea that they would attack platforms that they can utilize is a bit short-sighted. There's certainly something going on, on an editorial level. So let's ignore the ownership level. I don't believe, Rupert Murdoch's calling up his editors at his publications and saying, we must destroy YouTube. I don't believe that's happening. But what I do think is probably happening is that in a failing business, an editor is under increasing pressure to find traffic wherever they can. I know I've been under that pressure on a much smaller scale, and unfortunately, for good or ill, what will generate traffic is by talking about new media, because that's what people are interested in. How many people who watch YouTube, hardcore YouTubers, have ever read the Wall Street Journal? Probably never, or close to never. I would imagine that some people will probably barely even aware of its existence and its history, because that's the generational gap, that's the media gap. However, as soon as they start writing about PewDiePie, there's an influx of attention, people making citations, and sure, it might not be positive publicity, but for the people that are kind of in between worlds, for the people that absorb new media and old media alike, like me, it's probably going to draw my attention. I'm going to follow that story with interest because I believe it's relevant. They're finally talking about something that I actually care about, not a bunch of stuffy old boardroom bullshit. Now, that brings us down to the level I think we're operating on now, which is activism in place of journalism. I talk about this a lot. I've mentioned it repeatedly in my videos that there is a breed of journalists coming through now that are not interested in journalism. They are not interested in just the facts. They deliberately want to be partisan. They want to impose their beliefs on the reader. They want to use the platform to correct what they believe societal wrongs. Understand at the core of social justice is the premise that there is no other way to get justice in the system that exists unless you are willing to abuse whatever little power you can get. And that is being promoted and pushed as the correct way to think about things, that if you're a journalist, you have a moral responsibility to stand against fascists or whatever it might be this week, or whatever the boogeyman in the closet is. The reality is that, when these journalists are coming through, they don't have a lot of power, but they can kind of push stories to editors who will listen, because that's how the process works. An editor says, right, what are you working on? What do you think is going to be good for us? And then the journalist will say, oh, well, how about this story? And the editor will say, well, based on previous hits and everything else, yes, I think this is a good story to go with, and this is how it works. Now, on this level, these these activists, they are not in any way, shape, or form interested in old media and new media. They don't have a dog in that fight. They simply don't. They're not high enough up the food chain for that kind of fight to matter. Yet you see them absolutely dedicated to continually trying to take down YouTube, Discord, whatever the new platform is. That's because they don't want any enclaves of fascism to exist. That's what they care about. Now, it just so happens when they pitch these stories, because of the hotbed of interest, because this is the culture war, this is what all new and old media is effectively devolving to. You go on YouTube, who are the most popular YouTubers? The Vogue YouTubers. What are they talking about? The culture war, the right v left, the election cycle. What are they talking about on the other side? Well, how to push back against fascists and racists, and how to deconstruct society and fix problems. And it's the same in old media now. You pick up a newspaper, everyone's partisan, everyone is blatant about what side they're on, and they push an agenda. And that agenda pretty much devolves down to, which camp are you in? Are you in the censorious, and this will sound an incredibly biased description, because I think my bias is quite apparent. But, do you want to be on the censorious, everything's racist, everything's sexist, everything's homophobic, oppression Olympic embracing, push for social justice? Or do you want to be on the side that believes freedom of speech is something that must be cherished, and you have no right to protections if you're going to be offended, and statistics can't lie, which, we know that's wrong. But these are the two movements. And basically, this is what's driving traffic. This is why alternate media is becoming so popular. Even things like Breitbart can turn a profit and make money and be successful and grow, where traditional other outlets can't. And, and I know that firsthand from being part of that structure. And it was the same, with the Daily Dot, when they took the role to move into other areas. Everybody's looking to try and expand their position and just talk about what's popular, what generates traffic, and in turn what generates profit. Now, okay, that's a really broad descriptor, but this is how I think we need to frame the argument. If you believe it's old media versus new media, nasty Wall Street Journal wants to crush YouTube because it's jealous, you don't understand the complexities of the argument, in my opinion, unfortunately. And there's a lot going on. Like I say, it's tiered. These journalist activists are useful idiots. That's what they are. They're useful idiots. The editor doesn't really necessarily care about their fight. Murdoch certainly doesn't. The Wall Street Journal isn't a leftist outlet. But I'm going to demonstrate why, if you think that isn't what this is about, I think you're being a little bit silly. But before we get into that, let's just show you a very recent example, as in this is how it happened yesterday, I believe. Let me show you how they're going after old media as well, based on political ideologies. So this was the story about Bill O'Reilly. So Bill O'Reilly, I don't know if you noticed this, but Bill O'Reilly settled out of court for, I believe, $13 million after receiving multiple allegations of sexual harassment while he was working over at Fox News. So keep in mind, a settlement is not an admission of guilt. Generally, it comes with the caveat, I admit no wrongdoing. Here is the 13 million, here's the settlement, here's the money. I admit no wrongdoing on my part. This is to stop it going to court, so details of the case come out. I'd rather pay the 13 million to make it go away. And obviously, some people believe a settlement equates to guilt. We've seen this multiple times, particularly in, class action suits against, corporate negligence. But here in this instance, you can see Mercedes-Benz and Hyundai have pulled their advertisements from Fox News, particularly on the O'Reilly factor, because they don't believe that in the interests of diversity, their brand can be associated with a man who hasn't been found guilty of anything, has simply been accused. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I don't want to get into the merits of fucking, O'Reilly. I find him a bit of a ridiculous figure, frankly, but you can see here, given the importance of women in every aspect of our business, we don't feel this is a good environment in which to advertise our products right now, Mercedes-Benz said in a statement. And it's been confirmed that advertisements have been reassigned. Now, this is exactly the sort of thing that's going on YouTube, that we don't want we don't want questionable content near our brands. And it's certainly a lot more complex where all media is involved, because we all know how a digital ad distribution works. You could be a burger company like McDonald's, and your ad could appear on like a vegetarian recipe. The idea the two are in any way related, or one endorses the other. I'm certain a vegetarian channel wouldn't endorse McDonald's or any fast food outlet for that matter, is absurd. But there's now this kind of understanding from advertisers, and this is true, they do believe this, that if our brand is next to something, then it's an endorsement, it's an association. Of course, us, the generation that have been brought up with digital advertising, the generation that installed ad blocker, know that's complete nonsense, and we don't have that expectation when we factor in our consumer choices. So that's just to show you this is happening everywhere. This is political. This isn't about old and new media. This is about there's this thrust of a new type of politics, and people have decided the way to make the most profound statement about this politics is financial, it's fiscal. This is why these people go after other people's jobs. This is how you make the biggest splash, the biggest impact in their eyes. So I'm going to take you back to the whole start of this nonsense. And you're going to say, well, I don't think this is the start. But bear with me. It'll all tie together in my long, rambling, incoherent fashion. But this was the start of it for me. Of course, like all things, it's on BuzzFeed. And hang on, this is somehow gone into a black screen, but you can still make it out. It's by Joe, our good old friend Joe Bernstein, and the article said how YouTube serves as the content engine of the internet's dark side. This was posted on February the 24th. Now, you can see everyone knows that Twitter and Facebook spread bad information and hate speech. I mean, I reject that, but I mean, I think the vast majority of people on Facebook use it to keep in touch with people they went to school with for some vague, fucked up reason. And as for Twitter, it's here's a picture of some food I ate. And you can see, but YouTube, which pays for conspiracy theories seen by millions, may be even worse. So this talks about David Seaman and him talking about Pizzagate. I mean, my views on Pizzagate quite clear. I think it's a ridiculous leap. I haven't seen any real evidence for it. And I think David Seaman is somebody that's had a severe psychotic episode. I've watched his videos. He keeps talking about all this research he's done. If he's doing research, he's not presenting any facts. Do I believe he should have his YouTube channel shut down? Well, absolutely not. He's entitled to. I would like to think people in his life would get involved, because every day he's tweeting about how the government are watching him and they're going to kill him. And he tweets about how, look, I'm not going to commit suicide. He lives in perpetual fear and paranoia. I think he's a very disturbed man. And I hope he can get some help down the line. But that's not about, we're not about that life. That's not what we're talking about here. But you can see they go after him and say that because he's got 150,000 subscribers and he's accusing people of being involved in child sex trafficking based on all of this stuff, he should, his channel should be shut down. You can see as well, they go after Stefan Molyneux, somebody who, again, don't necessarily agree with all of his videos, but I think he presents counter-arguments in a very educated and enlightened way. Certainly, again, he's a climate change skeptic, that kind of thing. But he's a skeptic by nature, and he's skeptical of everything. Again, I can't see a strong argument as to why Stefan Molyneux should be shut down. Anyway, it picks out some of the more extreme stuff, and you can see here how it talks about YouTube demonetization, and it links to the PewDiePie thing. And it says, you know, oh, it's so big it might be ungovernable and blah, blah, blah. So that was the article. Now, interestingly enough, when that article comes out, basically going after YouTube, and let's be clear, one of the things I like and I've always liked about the YouTube platform, and it's sad to see that it's going to change, because it is, the writing's on the wall. One of the things I always liked about it was that no matter what the topic was, I could find a video up there. You know, I could find something up there that would appeal to me. I could find alternate looks at key things, homemade documentaries. You know, think about things like Loose Change. You know, you don't have to necessarily, or Zeitgeist, you know, you don't have to necessarily agree with any of these things, but without a platform like YouTube, I don't think you get a generation of kind of like guerrilla documentarians that we've got. And whether you think the content sucks ass or not, you know, when you present a collection of information, it's up to the person who absorbs that information to really discern how accurate it is. And I like to see that. I like to see alternative presentations. I like to see what the alternative to any prescribed narrative is, and YouTube was great for that. And what's more importantly is it was great for discovery. It was, you know, you could find people that you didn't even know existed very easily based on its algorithms. On people that you did like, it would recommend people, and it's pretty low investment because a lot of YouTube videos are short. People don't necessarily like the long form podcast style that I do, but there's, you know, they would just direct you to somebody else. You know, if you like this guy, you like this guy, and you like this girl, and all of a sudden, you know, you've built up like a very regular routine of people you will watch on a daily basis, and that's certainly how it is for me, and that's how it's always been. Now, one of the other things it's got to be said is YouTube has never intervened or dabbled with personal politics. I see stuff up there that I find incredibly questionable. You know, I see these race realists and these other fucking idiots. I see Holocaust deniers. I see anti-Semites. I do see these people on these platforms. The key thing here is, though, you know, YouTube certainly should be better in demonetizing those. What do we want to do, though? Do we want to push this shit underground? At least when this stuff's out there and accessible, it can be debunked. You know, these people are morons. Their arguments don't bear scrutiny. They don't stand up. That's the key point here. If you force all of this shit underground, it gets worse. It festers, and it leads to very dangerous and dark things. You get a new breed of extremism. I'd rather these idiots were on YouTube getting laughed at and having their videos downvoted, making no money, just some depressing, sad labor of love where everyone gets to laugh at them, rather than them having meetings in warehouses and hiring bars and distributing flyers and talking to each other about how, you know, what's the next stage in the great race war or whatever fucking nonsense they believe. So, I take a very broad view, and not everyone agrees with it, that I don't necessarily think these people should have their stuff taken off any platform. I believe in the arena of ideas. I believe the better idea wins, and racism and anti-Semitism, it just doesn't stand up. It's a terrible idea because it's got no factual fucking basis for it. It's just dumb. So, you know, YouTube allowed these people platforms, didn't necessarily allow them to make money, but they were allowed a platform. And as I said, I think once you deplatform someone entirely, you've got to have a very good reason, you know. And trust me, people will be in the comments going, "Well, do you say that about hate clerics for Islam because you hate Islam?" Don't hate Islam. Very, very complicated topic. But I've seen hate clerics you know, in London. I've, you know, I know what they say, and I've seen other Muslims actually challenge what they're saying publicly in the arena of ideas. Yes, some people are going to get through and attempt to radicalize other people. I think once you start saying violence is the answer, and you start inciting people to violence, yes, that's when you need to start shutting people down. If you're just saying fucking, you know, well, the white man's the fucking devil, well, you know, it turns out MTV is saying it these days. So, you know, shutting down a Muslim hate cleric on that basis alone doesn't sit easy with me, because I do believe in freedom of speech in its purest essence. So anyway, look, back to this BuzzFeed article. The premise of the BuzzFeed article is that YouTube is dangerous, it's dark, it's got a generation of conspiracy theorists and racists and Nazis percolating under the surface, and if YouTube doesn't do something about it, this is going to become somehow the norm. It's going to be, you know, blah, 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 all of this hysterical, you know, moral panic gibberish. Now, interestingly enough, on the day that there was an update made to it, the next day, there was a Reddit thread. And I just like to throw this in for extra context, because this is kind of what leftists believe. This is, right, so this is from Gamergazi. Now, you probably come across Gamergazi before. Gamergazi was set up as an alternative to Gamergate. And that's why it's got that name, Gamergazi, because they're trying to make out, you know, they were trying to mock the Gamergate movement as if it, you know, saying it wasn't that important. Oh, it's like Benghazi, that kind of thing. So this is what Gamergazi did. And basically, in the same way that Kotaku in Action isn't really about Gamergate anymore, and is more of a general sub about consumer rights in gaming and censorship in the media, Gamergazi has gone on to become just a general leftist whine fest about, you know, there's Nazis everywhere and they're all coming to get us. Now, this is an interesting subreddit because it's moderated by some pretty big, you know, power moderators on Reddit, no less. You can see Irby Tremor. And what Gamergazi does now, like I say, is they just have threads whining about stuff. So this was on the date, you think, 25th. It feels as though we've lost YouTube. There is near unanimous support of PewDiePie. Keep in mind, you know, PewDiePie was the first stone when the Wall Street Journal went after him. Even Casey Neistat, a huge liberal YouTuber, is being vocal in his support of PewDiePie. All of this, even though he just gave support to Sargon of fucking Akkad. Disgusting. A few weeks back, a YouTuber called out another on his use of the N-word, and she was the one chastised and even lost a significant amount of subscribers, all while he has skyrocketed from it. That's a reference to the iDubbbz video, and the woman in that video, the YouTuber, is one of the most fake, disingenuous pieces of shit, probably is on the YouTube platform, and has even been caught using the N-word actually in a derogatory, not ironic, not comedic, not satirical fashion. So be careful who you get in bed with. It just goes to show these people don't even do their research. They just jump into whatever they feel is going to be, the hug box today. The weirdest one in recent memory is JonTron going full-blown fascist. I'll teach you how to spell it later. In his video today, he had a thanks, guys, and our guy jokes in his video. It's scary because these people have huge influence on kids, and it seems that YouTube itself has turned right. And then you can say, look, I don't think there's a time we ever had YouTube. This is the topic of discussion. Now, why are you bringing this up, Richard? Well, it is a strange coincidence, isn't it, that Gamergazi, this prominent subreddit for leftist whining, has an article about how they've lost has a thread about how they've lost YouTube at the same time as Joe Bernstein's article about what's going on with YouTube. And here's the thing, I want you to have a look at this account that made that thread, Drep Reaper. Because look, you've got to understand how this works. Like the social media manipulation to get things trending, to create issues where there are none, to generate faux outrage. Don't put it past the likes of BuzzFeed and all this to have alt accounts and be doing things like this to push a Reddit agenda or moderate. You know, it's established. Moderators from Reddit talk to publications and leak information to them. This isn't nonsense. This is exactly how it works. So I looked at the account and I had to have a little chuckle to myself because, you know, it's not done an amazing job of kind of hiding its, you know, kind of you know, kind of outlook about what it's really trying to achieve. And you can see here, it talks, so it just goes on and on and on. Let me just go right back to the beginning. So first, it started posting. It's only 2 months old. It's only 2 months old, and it's a moderator of true anarchism. So it's 2 months old. So it started posting in this counting thread. So it understood that it needed karma and it needed a history to be able to become a moderator and to be able to be posting threads and getting it upvoted. You can see it starts out with a few like general things, discussion of Twin Peaks and all this other stuff, and MMA and wrestling, and you know, it's just a normal account. But then suddenly it just decides to be very focused in on YouTube and Trump supporters. So you can see here, PewDiePie's response is dangerous. How do you guys feel about PewDiePie's response? It feels as though we've lost YouTube. What is up with white Brits wanting to promote American fascism? Beware of the other anti-Trump subreddit. The Colin Kaepernick situation is sad, man. I don't know if this is the right place for this, but the Kaepernick situation is really sad. MAT has to be a pro-Trump subreddit in described. So I'm completely giving up on YouTube. YouTube is on the wrong side of history. Right, and on it goes. It just continues. When our politics and the Donald Brigades talks about the healthcare announcement there, and then again, just constant focus. Screw it, I'm going full conspiracy theorist. You're already there, my friend. And then we have it, and then just back to wrestling. So it had this weird stint where it was really constantly harping on. It's 2 months old. It's just constantly making threads about this shit. Around about the same time, the media, that the outlets that are kind of friendly to this sort of stuff are posting about this. So that's the general gist in that kind of world, in that realm, right? And so where do we go from there? Well, look, they have lost YouTube. They never had YouTube. Unfortunately, YouTube was always a platform that, because it was a pushback against, it was an alternative to mainstream media. It was about having skeptics and other types on that platform. Those are the people that flourished and rose to prominence, yes. And there were some funny people and let's play people and wacky fucking, you know, YouTubers and stuff. But generally it was like a sort of semi-educational platform for documentarians, platform for skeptics. This is what YouTube became known as, you know. All the people who produce this leftist slush that has no foundation in facts, they get absolutely panned. The YouTube community isn't interested in what they've got to say for themselves. And unfortunately, the YouTube community is very vocal when it thinks something is bad. Now, what happens next? Well, here's what happens next. There was a terrible hate crime where a chap called James Harris Jackson went and stabbed a black homeless person to death. And you can see here, this is on Alternet. The white supremacists who traveled to New York to murder black men followed extremist, racist online groups who support Trump. This was on March 23rd, just to give you an idea of the timeline. There had been some other stuff percolating. This awful hate crime really kind of lit the torch paper. And you can see here that what they did, their idea was, let's have a look, you know, at what YouTube looked at. Bizarre that, isn't it? Because generally you would look at, say, political groups, maybe what forums they post on, any extreme political thinkers that they follow. This is all standard practice. But instead they went specifically to YouTube to look at what YouTube people he followed and what YouTube videos he was watching. Right? A bit weird, isn't it? So they had a look, and here it is. You're going to see some people that you recognize. The implication being that all of these people, if you listen to any of these, then you are potentially a racist extremist, and you probably didn't know about it. So let's have a look. I mean, follows the official YouTube channel of the White House. Something called History Truths, a picture of Hitler. I'm going to guess that's a revisionist approach to the Holocaust and that kind of thing. PewDiePie, of course. I mean, that's the go-to channel for all the Nazis, right? That's what they're trying to say here. So I bet they love that one. Politically incorrect, I don't know what that is. Something called Alt-Right Andy. You've got the Patriotic Populist. Let's have a look what else we've got. The Impartial Truth. Again, I could probably hazard a guess what that's about. Real Crusades History. Reference to the Crusades. Black Pigeon Speaks. Stefan Molyneux. Russian Times. Russell Brand, who's as left as they come, by the way. Couldn't be more of a liberal if you tried. Alex Jones. And Vice News. And Vice News, of course, also a leftist outlet. So while I would say this is a right-leaning, probably a race realist, I mean, Graham fucking Norton, for fuck's sake. You know, I think there's enough in there to show that he didn't just listen entirely to one particular line of thinking. And while there probably are a few people that you might want to label as extremist in their thought process, I need to go through each channel to see if any of them advocated for violence or anything like that. There's certainly mainstream outlets, mainstream news outlets up there, which they absolutely don't. So strange situation, as you can see. So that was enough, again, to make this link between hate extremists and YouTube. And again, why do people want to make that link all of a sudden? Because, as I said, it's political. Then you had this, The Verge, right? Let's get into this whole JonTron thing briefly. I've already made my views of it quite clear several times, but you can see The Verge ran this article, when your child's favorite YouTube celebrity is a secret racist. This is on March the 16th. So there's been this sustained push for pretty much since the end of February to try and combine the thought process of YouTube and racism, YouTube and hate speech, YouTube and hate crimes. And this article basically is by Rich McCormick, formerly of PC Gamer. And you can see that, you know, he brings up the whole JonTron Destiny debate stuff again. And tries to make some fairly extreme comparisons here, because he's saying that, you know, JonTron appeals to children. And basically his... sorry, there's something going on outside there. I don't know what the fuck that was. But basically, yeah, because he's now expressed terrible political views, you know, completely ill thought out views, it's like finding out Mr. Rogers has started distributing KKK literature, or Bill Nye said that the moon landing was faked by Jewish people, which, you know, it's not like that. And you can see as well, you know, they bring up the PewDiePie thing again. And, you know, look, I still don't necessarily feel comfortable labeling JonTron a racist. You know, I'm not accepting that. I think he said a bunch of stupid stuff. I think he said a bunch of stuff that could be construed as racism. I think he embarrassed himself, frankly. And I can understand people wanting to criticize him. But I need to see a hell of a lot more to be convinced that he is indeed an actual card-carrying, I believe in white supremacy racist. So, the JonTron thing obviously played out quite a lot. You know, it gave them an easy target, and JonTron deserves to be criticized. It's interesting to see all the YouTubers band around him and defend him. This guy helped get you to this position where you're at now. He helped stretch out the discussion about whether or not YouTube was a hate platform. It's his fault that we're kind of, you know, certainly he has to shoulder a significant portion of the blame that we're in this position we're in now, because he's a hugely popular YouTuber that now, because of stupid things he said, can now easily be pointed to, and he's a racist, and he's one of the more popular ones. This proves that it's a platform, and he reaches children, and moral panic. So what happened around about this time was we started seeing reports in the Wall Street Journal that advertisers were going to start pulling ads. And again, I'm not going to bring up the links to the Wall Street Journal on these particular articles because it's behind a paywall anyway, and I'm fuck the Wall Street Journal, right? But you know they exist. You've seen them in a million other videos. Basically, you know, there was like AT&T and all these other big companies were pulling their adverts from the platform. Now again, I want you to think about this. Everybody was saying, oh well, this is old media versus new media. Why then, when restricted mode came out, the same month, which was, again, Google clumsily trying to fix this problem because they knew where it was going, why did the old media help out the channels affected by it? Only some of them, I might add. You see, when restricted mode came out, and had stuff like the Rubin Report getting wrecked, and Keemstar getting wrecked, and PewDiePie getting wrecked, it was crickets. No one gave a fuck in the old media. No one gave a fuck in the mainstream media. But then some LGBTQ videos got restricted and all fucking hell broke loose. So even small channels that had like 20,000 somehow had the pull by virtue of the discrimination card, even though it was happening to everybody. Right, and to be clear, no, LGBTQ videos shouldn't be restricted. That's completely dumb. But it's interesting, isn't it, that why should PewDiePie's videos be restricted? You know, why should, nobody wanted to make that argument. So let's look. Here we go. This was The Guardian reaching out to help the LGBTQ YouTubers, right? Here it is. They literally said, I can't trust YouTube anymore. Creators speak out in Google advertising row. And here it is. And they did this big write-up about how, the LGBTQ community were horrified at what happened. And why would YouTube do this? It's staggering because YouTube has a CEO who is a feminist and a big champion for gender equality. Hold that in mind, by the way, while this all fucking invariably burns to the ground. Keep that in the back of your head. While they continue to deny that you're being unsubbed, they continue to deny that there's any political motivation in videos being demonetized, while they pretend that YouTube Heroes isn't a means to create a band of censors that will roam around their platform with impunity, censoring anything they don't like. Yes, let's all lie about that. Even though that's happened to every other social media platform going. So obviously, the Guardian, well, why would you speak up about this? If you want to destroy the platform, you don't offer a life answer. Come on, YouTube, what are you doing? You stand well back, the torch paper's lit, you let them get on with it. You don't have any interest. You let them eat each other up. You let the left destroy itself. But it wasn't just The Guardian. It wasn't just some niche story. You can see here as well, YouTube's looking at the complaints that it unfairly censors LGBT videos. And you can see, there's many articles about this across the fucking board. They literally gave YouTubers a platform to air their grievances. So this doesn't tie in with the narrative. USA Today, there's multiple instances of this. The LGBTQ filtering was a big deal, and the mainstream media were instrumental in getting YouTube to come out and give this statement. We are so proud to represent the LGBTQ plus. I don't know, algebra now is probably a fucking gender or sexuality. Voices on our platform. They're a key part of what YouTube is all about. The intention of restricted mode is to filter out mature content for a tiny subset of users who want a more limited experience. LGBTQ+ videos are available in restricted mode, but videos that discuss more sensitive issues may not be. We regret any confusion this has caused and are looking into your concerns. We appreciate your feedback and passion for making YouTube such an inclusive, diverse, and vibrant community. So, you know, you could have just not said anything about it and just let it, you know, go to fucking rot and let those people fight that battle internally. Didn't. So we move back onto the Wall Street Journal now. And just as a interesting point that I want to make before we get into the Jack Nickass character, we can call him Jackass for short. Here's a tweet. Remember the Joe Bernstein article I showed you about how terrible YouTube was as a platform? In light of my story on YouTube's rapid growth via personalized video recommendations, read this take by Bernstein, Joe Bernstein. He endorses his video and retweets it. Now, because he's just a small, pathetic hack with no following, obviously there's no really engagement, just people calling it clickbait, saying it's a smear campaign. But Jack Nickass here, the guy who has produced this story that blew up and drove everyone fucking nutso, and has been instrumental in getting the advertisements pulled, he actually endorsed the Joe Bernstein view that YouTube was a dark platform filled with terrible people and it had to be stopped. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? That link is there, right? It's politics. It's politics. The left don't like anything they cannot have complete control over. They must control the debate. So now I want to introduce you to a guy called Eric Feinberg. We're going to talk about Jack Nickass in the Wall Street Journal at length. But this is the guy that you really have to point the finger at. And this is reported on Advertising Age. It's exactly what you think it would be. Jack Neff is the senior writer over there. And it's just a kind of a blog or website for people who are, you know, interested in marketing and advertising. And this was on March 27th. Meet the man behind YouTube's sudden ad crisis. He has a patented fix. And you can see major marketers' ads have likely been showing up on or near YouTube videos promoting terrorism, neo-Nazi groups, and other web content for a long time. So why is the brand safety problem suddenly burst into the open, prompting big advertisers such as General Motors, Walmart, Verizon, AT&T, and Johnson & Johnson to stop spending on YouTube or other Google properties? Thank or blame Eric Feinberg, a long-time marketing services executive who in recent months has made it his mission to find ad-supported content linked to terror and hate groups, then push links and screenshots proving it happened to journalists in the UK and the US. Then, right, I'm going to repeat that, then push links and screenshots proving it happened to journalists in the UK and US. The resulting coverage has sparked a full-fledged advertiser revolt. Mr. Feinberg owns Southfield, the Southfield, Michigan-based GPEC, or GPEC, short for Global Intellectual Property Enforcement Center, which employs deep web interrogation to find keywords and coding linked to terrorism and hate speech. He's also a co-owner of a patent issued in December for a computerized system and method for detecting fraudulent or malicious enterprises. His system works in part by analyzing when videos and websites contain words that appear alongside such phrases as "kill Jews." He's logged thousands of sometimes innocuous or obscure-sounding terms he says co-trend with such hate speech or exhortations of violence, which in turn helps him finding offensive videos. His efforts with the media have been classic problem-solution marketing. Mr. Feinberg makes no bones about his interest in licensing his technology to Google and other digital platforms to monitor offensive content and keep ads away from it. So basically what he's doing here is, like, just to, because this, I will read all the article because it's super interesting, and this is pretty much the root cause of all of this. So Eric Feinberg is a guy who has a piece of software, runs a company, and for whatever reason, probably it's because of his own political leanings, he has taken it upon himself to get out there and dig into where advertising goes, and basically has created an algorithm, a piece of software that detects if advertising goes to any video that can be deemed extreme. Now, keep in mind, I doubt it's perfect. Nobody knows how this works besides him. And he says that he has obscure sounding terms that definitely co-trend with hate speech. So interested to see how that works. Obviously, kill Jews, that's fairly obvious. That's fairly obviously going to be linked to extremist content. But you can see here that what he's trying to do is sell a piece of software. That's all he's trying to do. So the 1 month build-up from February of all this hysteria is the platform through which he's looking to get paid. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? It makes you think. Because it said there that he sent screenshots and proof to journalists in the UK and the US that advertisers were being linked to extremist content. Now, obviously, this guy has had contact with all the journalists writing about this. He's thrown this up, and he's found activists like him, useful idiots, as we'll call them, who have taken the work he's done and have just published it. This guy's the root of it. There's no way he hasn't spoke with Joe Bernstein. There's no way he hasn't spoke with Jack Nicklaus. There's no way he hasn't spoke with all the rest of them. This is the guy. Because these guys didn't have the wherewithal to find these ads themselves. His software's done it for them. Now think about that, by the way. It's not investigative journalism. This guy's literally just given them a fucking layup and said, here you go. There's the alley-oop. You slam dunk the fuck out of this story. So that is worrying in and of itself. But this is the guy. So let's get down to Mr. Feinberg here. Mr. Feinberg wants to sell his tech to the digital platforms themselves, not to brands, agencies, or third-party monitors. That's because he's not just out to make money, he said, but to stop terrorists and hate groups from making money off digital advertising. He likened the idea of selling his tech piecemeal to brands and agencies to fixing your toilet or sink at the house when the problem is at the sewer or the reservoir. So why have Google and seemingly sophisticated ad tech firms failed to find the stuff he keeps finding? They aren't really understanding key trending or keywords, and they're not looking for it like we do, Mr. Feinberg said. I have a database of thousands of words and phrases linked to nefarious activity. One is a Serbian word, roughly transliterated as Hanwa, which has been co-trending with jihadist content online. YouTube Red, YouTube's ad-free subscription service, advertised its movie The Thinning on one such Hanwa video on Saturday, according to a link and screenshot that he sent us. So this is the guy. This is what he does. He's just sending this out to these useful idiot activists who then just run with the story. Whether all this will help Mr. Feinberg close a deal with Google or anyone else is hard to say. If he doesn't and Google develops its own solution, he can try to stake a patent claim. Does that make him a patent troll? He argues that he's doing something different than patent litigators that apply an obscure patent to something tech firms are already doing anyway. Mr. Feinberg, by contrast, has gone to great and public lengths in recent weeks to demonstrate his technology can root out problems Google hasn't found. I'm doing it for the industry, he said. I'm an old ad guy. No, you're not. Old ad guys just wanted to make fucking money. You're just lying. Certainly, he's no typical ad tech guy. He spent nearly 2 decades running an event marketing promotion and social media activation firm focused on sporting events under the name Extreme Advertising and Promotion, based variously in New York and Boca Raton, Florida. Among his efforts were branded tractor-trailer wraps during the Super Bowl in Miami in 1999. He said he's had numerous Fortune 500 clients over the years, including Motorola, General Motors, Sprint, and PepsiCo. Work on NFL promotions alerted Mr. Feinberg to the problem of counterfeit licensed merchandise, prompting him to form Fans Against Counterfeit Enterprise, or FAKE, a company focused on rooting out digital ads from largely Russian and Chinese purveyors of fake but authentic-looking goods. He said he has also began 5 years ago working with musicians to track down pirated videos on YouTube and elsewhere so they could either have them taken down or get compensated. 2 years ago, following the terror attack in France on the Charlie Hebdo newspaper, he began turning his attention to terrorist-linked content online. I'm sickened by it, Mr. Feinberg said, contrasting ads supporting terrorism and hate groups to what he did in brand promotions. I'm proud of what he did, he said. That's why I'm doing this. It's a level of passion. What's interesting, isn't it? Because he's talking there about fucking Al-Qaeda and ISIS and groups like that making money through YouTube, okay, which I can't believe makes up a significant portion of their funding. But fair enough, shut down their fucking recruitment videos or whatever you want. But what is he... Does he want it to be linked to this? I'm going to say quite comfortably, I don't think he gives a fuck. He's talking about it like he's a good guy. It's very easy to make the argument publicly, oh, well, my technology is used to censor terrorists. And you go, oh, well, yeah, no one would object to that. No one would object to that. Yeah, fuck that. Oh, and it's used to censor Nazis. Oh, yeah, well, no one would object to that either. But it's also being used to censor Sargon of Akkad and Keemstar and, you know, the Amazing Atheist. And I go, whoa, dude. I thought you wanted to stop extremists. Yeah, well, you know, they say some extreme stuff. Nah, dude, they don't. So what he's doing is, he's basically held, by using useful idiots in the media, he has held Google to ransom by my prepackaged, patented solution. And if you do solve it yourself and don't buy my solution, I am going to patent troll you. So it's buy the solution or get fucked. And all the while he's dragging this out, right, using, oh, I'm just trying to stop the evil terrorists. It's actual just regular Joes on YouTube that are getting fucked by it. I don't think ISIS are going to lose any sleep. But, you know, fucking hell. Oh, no, YouTube videos have been demonetized. No. Like, I don't think ISIS are going to be upset by that, right? But meanwhile, the people who've, you know, they're fucking making like 9% of the revenue they were making just 2 weeks ago. That is grotesque. And what they're doing, and what this Feinberg guy is doing, is just holding them at ransom. Nobody's doing anything about it. People need to dig into this fucker, by the way. Guarantee. You don't work in advertising that long and don't have skeletons in your closet. So yeah, someone needs to dig up, you know, how just moral and wonderful he is. I guarantee they'll find something. Might be a project to work on when I'm not so busy. But anyway, so that's Eric Feinberg. So Eric Feinberg, I think we can safely say at this point, is the guy who you know, gave Joe Bernstein a nudge. Certainly sent screenshots to Jack Nikas, who was like, "Oh, look at me, look what I've done." You can't even do your own fucking investigative journalism, which was literally just taking a screenshot of a YouTube video. And here's what's really interesting: I've got my doubts about the legitimacy of that, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. So basically, Feinberg has used journalist activists to get paid. That is that. They think they're being useful. Yeah, we're going to get YouTube back for all the lefties. And Eric Feinberg's just rubbing his hands and saying, well, I'm going to make a fucking fortune, and I'm going to do it all under the guise of fixing the planet. So let's have a look at this Jack Nikas guy. Because these tweets that he put out, this is the guy who wrote the Wall Street Journal story. And come on, you can do it. You can open this. Basically what he said was on Twitter, and I'll read this. Hang on, let me just see if I can do this again. Try again. Come on. Yes, there we go. Right. So you can see exclusive. Pepsi, Walmart, Starbucks, GM, Dish, FX pulling some Google ads after Wall Street Journal found their ads on racist YouTube video. Google also showed ads for Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Amazon, P&G, Geico, and Toyota on racist videos. Some didn't comment, some keeping spending. So again, like, this is how you know he's an activist. Because you're not just stating the facts here. You're literally, this is a shame attempt. This is an attempt to apply pressure to the people who are standing firm and going, look, we don't think this is actually a big deal. We think this is manufactured outrage. And scoop! Well done, mate. No, you know, not really a scoop, is it, when some fucking guy who's using you to get fucking paid sends it to you? A week after Google apologized for showing ads on unsavory videos, YouTube is still rife with examples. And he uses the famous examples from the H3H3 video. And you can see here as well, this is another video where Michelle Obama dances to some old racist redneck song. Problem likely persisted for years. Right, okay. But nobody noticed it, right? Until Feinberg came along and fed you the story. But controversy happening now because media is airing it. Sparked by the Times and Alexei Mostras. We are now at the point in this story where a reporter spending a few hours on YouTube can spark big brands to pull spending on Google. Why aren't we talking about how Feinberg clearly sent you this? There's no way this is a coincidence. Over about 5 hours last night, I found ads for a dozen major companies on 20 YouTube videos peddling racist or similarly unsavory views. Google showed many ads on videos with racial slurs in the title or description. Its software automatically screens for similar stuff, and here's these more examples. All of these, by the way, are premium ads, right? These are premium ads. So he's found Toyota, Coca-Cola, Starbucks. You know, these are all the premium ads, okay? And then, as I pointed out yesterday, this problem is very hard to solve because of scope and complexity of issue and ad network. And, you know, so there we have it. So he was like literally dancing and high-fiving himself. Now, the video, the stories that he published were pretty, you know, pretty bog standard. They were syndicated in other publications, so I can just show them. So this was the one that he ran in the Wall Street Journal, but it was syndicated in the Denver Post. Google to simplify YouTube ad controls amid outcry over extremist videos, and this was Stu Wu. Okay, so you're like, ooh, Stu Wu. And talking about, you know, an executive for Alphabet Inc.'s Google apologized on Monday for commercials that appeared before extremist videos on its YouTube site and said it would simplify tools that enable advertisers to control where their ads appear. So this is how they're going to fix it. So keep in mind, Eric Feinberg's like, I want you to buy my tech. YouTube are going, no, we're just going to put it in the hands of the advertisers. We're going to change our tools, make it easier. Because, get this, despite all this moral outrage, the one thing that's not getting talked about in the mainstream media is that Google gives the advertisers the controls. They can choose where their ads appear, but look, Google already said such controls exist, but advertisers weren't using them. Perhaps they were too complex, said Matt Britton, Google's president for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. I think this guy might know what the fuck he's talking about. If the controls are there, but people aren't using them, that's our problem, Britton said. I disagree, Matt. I think if you put fixes there, it's the advertisers that are to fucking blame. I think they're idiots, right? And they've been nudged by media activists and a fucking guy looking to basically hold you to ransom to pull their own ads from the fucking audience that they desperately want to reach. So you can see it talks about all these people who are pulling it. And then Mr. Britton said he would step up enforcement and review policies to make sure ads don't inadvertently appear next to inappropriate videos. He said Google wanted to be careful with how it did so because some advertisers, such as news organizations, might want to place ads alongside controversial content. We want to be thoughtful, he said, adding that Google would reveal more details soon. Jack Nikas contributed to this report. And again, just to end on, and keep in mind, this was yes, it's in the Denver Post, this is what they wrote in the Wall Street Journal. The videos that sparked the most recent controversy, revealed in stories in the Times of London, were made by supporters of terrorist groups, including Islamic State and a violent pro-Nazi group, and were broadly condemned. Obviously, they were broadly condemned. But that's not the reality about who this is affecting. It's bizarre, isn't it, that they can't, they know it's affecting all these YouTubers, but they're not coming out and saying, oh, we don't want to affect those guys. Why aren't they saying that? Politics. It's politics. So this was the other ad that Jack Nikas wrote, and again, it got syndicated, so I don't have to click on your shitty publication, Wall Street Journal. Here it is. This time it was syndicated in Morning Star. YouTube continues showing brands ads with objectionable videos. And again, this is Jack Nikas, this big super scoop, look at me. This is what he wrote up where he was like talking about, you know, the adverts appearing. The stuff he got fed by Eric Feinberg, basically. And you can see here, Walmart said the content with which we are being associated is appalling and completely against our company values. Well, if you care that much about it, Walmart, why don't you listen to Matt Britton? Why don't you get in your whoever handles your YouTube advertising, and why don't you get them to figure out how to use the controls so your ads don't appear to that objectionable content? Seems to me the thing that's not getting talked about here is how this is literally your fucking doing. This is your fault. All of these brands. And again, Jack Nicklaus didn't want to really push that agenda, you know. So we get into the latest shit show, H3H3. They released a now deleted video where they said the screenshot of a Coca-Cola ad must be fake. Right? And that's the screenshot that Jack Nicklaus has been pushing in the Wall Street Journal, the one he was fed by Eric Feinberg. Okay? So, on it, it's Chief Keef dances to Alabama N-word, and there's somebody just drinking a bottle of Coke. Now, you can understand why you wouldn't want your fucking brand to be associated with that kind of thing, because it's basically a juxtaposition of a popular black music star dancing to a racist, redneck song that is very offensive and derogatory about black people. Now, they said, if you look at the video, it was demonetized. So why would ads be appearing on it? Because when a video is demonetized, ads don't appear. But that wasn't true. H3H3 got it wrong, and I even tweeted at Ethan and saying, oh, there was something off about the screenshots, because I agree with that. I don't, and we're going to get to that in a second, but I don't believe that these premium ads just happen to be popping up there as a matter of course. And in fact, now that I know that Eric Feinberg fed these screenshots to a journalist who didn't do this themselves, I would go so far as to say Eric Feinberg probably's found a way to show only when the premium ads were there. Certainly, it seems within his capability based on the tech he's pushing. So, here we have it. This was Trusted Flagger, who is a member of the YouTube Trusted Flagger program, who wants to keep YouTube safe, clean for all. You can see here, H3H3 Productions messed up. The video was monetized by Omnia Media Music. The evidence is in the source code of the original video. The video was claimed due to the copyrighted content, hence a sudden drop-off in ad revenue. Nothing to do with it being demonetized by YouTube. And it shows in this in the source code that there was an ad there, and it was by Omnia Music Media and everything else. Now, basically what happens is when a video has the when a video has copyright material in there, a company can come in, claim the video, and it still gets monetized because it's theirs. The money won't go to the content creator, in inverted commas, because they didn't create anything. It goes to the person who owns the intellectual property. So this video that got something like, I don't know, 265,000 views, purely on the basis that it had Chief Keef in the title, that money was going to Omnia Media Music because apparently they had a legitimate claim. And that was confirmed by Ben here. So H3H3 removed the video. But there's still something that doesn't add up about this, because look, first of all, it was put in the Wall Street Journal that these people were profiting from hate. Well, they're not. They're definitely not. First of all, the money wasn't going to the person that created the content. It was going to the person with a legitimate intellectual property claim. So the reporting is incredibly disingenuous by the Wall Street Journal to make it look like this guy is a racist making money by publishing racist content. He made $8. He made $8 total on the video, and all the other money has gone to the person with a claim for the music that was used in the video, which was by a black artist. So, you know, that's kind of like a fuck you, right, if you believe it's racist. But that never got reported. That wasn't talked about. And also something else that was overlooked, and this was brought up by Chris Reagan, another YouTuber that I have a lot of time for. You can see here, Chris Reagan decided to do his own experiment. And what he did is he took the song Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, a great song, and he just called the video title N-word, and he put it out there. And it immediately got flagged for copyright. So a copyright owner using Content ID claimed the material in your video. And it says, there are either ads running on your video with the revenue going to the copyright owner, or the copyright owner is receiving stats about your video's views. So what this showed to Chris Reagan was that actually, when you put the N-word in the title and use copyrighted material, the copyright claim, the Content ID claim, kicks in before the terms of service. So you can have the N-word in your videos, which, you know, seems to be probably, apparently YouTube didn't want to do allow this because they didn't want rap music to get caught out and constantly banned. So that's an issue they need to contextually get around. You can see here, I guess copyright claims supersede breaking terms of service guidelines, which is odd because you think the opposite. Has anyone seen an ad on this, it's meant to say, because it says ads might be running on it, but nobody's seen one. 2,000 plus views, not a single ad has been displayed. Only the yellow tick that indicated an ad should play, but no actual ad for anyone. Theory. Google's automated queues say ads may appear by default for claims, but controversial tags and titles nullify ad placement. Then he links to a comment saying their default custom policy may be to only apply a track claim and not a monetization claim. A track claim will give them all the metric stats on the video but won't run ads. However, it will prevent others from putting monetization claims on the same piece of content. Now that's especially interesting because if that's true, then that would mean that these screenshots that we saw in the Wall Street Journal were sent by Eric Feinberg were still fake. And again, I'm making the assumption they're sent by Eric Feinberg. I think on the balance probability, it is a fair assumption based on the reports. So that would mean they were still fake. The problem we've got is we don't know if Omnia Media Music are basically delivering those ads. We don't know what ads they've had in their cycle, right, to appear as a pre-roll of their videos. We don't know if that video was indeed showing those pre-rolls because of the claim. I've tried to contact the original YouTuber. He's not responded to me. I imagine he's getting loads of like troll spam messages and whatnot. He might never reply to me. But we don't even know if Omnia Media Music are the claimants at this stage, because the screenshots were taken on the 23rd and the 24th. We can maybe assume it's them. I'm in the process of trying to contact Omnia Music Media to find out. You can see here, Chris Reagan then said, after his test, it was claimed by Orchid Music, 2,000 views in, no advertisement. I've had the same thing reported by other YouTubers, no ads ever. The closest it has gotten was a single person showing me a yellow tick, which indicates an ad should be there, should be served, but no ad ended up playing. My theory is that YouTube will tell you your video is monetized by a claimant by default because that's the most common scenario. Offensive terms in the titles, tags, and description, however, nullify the ad placement. This would fall in line with demonetizations that happened last year that were remedied when users took words out of their titles that were considered sensitive, and since YouTube is at the whim of third parties more than they are at their own whim, a copyright claim will supersede a video's demonetization status, but videos that fall under the blanket of demonetized while being copyright struck simply make spaces for ads without actually playing them. I don't know if Jatnikas is smart enough to use Photoshop or Inspect Element, but I'm suspicious of his images even more so now. How did he find premium ads on a video that would otherwise be demonetized? I don't buy this, and neither do I. Frankly, neither do I. It makes no sense. And here's the thing, Jatnikas could certainly distance himself from it because he was, you know, fed this story by Eric Feinberg. But then again, it comes down to the journalist to do your due diligence. When you're presented information whole cloth or a story in its entirety, you have to go out and verify. So there's no excuse. So I feel sorry for H3H3, but there's no getting out of it. They jumped the gun a little bit. It's certainly harder than it looks. But let's be clear here. We are going to be able, through a laborious process, we can find out that whether or not these screenshots were fake. It's doable. We can achieve that goal, and that's what everybody should be working towards right now. Interestingly enough, the Wall Street Journal, just in the interest of being fair and balanced, the Wall Street Journal denied that they actually had faked these screenshots. They responded to the video that was taken down by Ethan, and in a statement on, they put out a press release about that. That's how seriously they're backing the report. I mean, they absolutely have to at this point. Okay, so here it is. This is the press release. They put out a statement from the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal stands by its March 24th report that major brand advertisements were running alongside objectionable videos on YouTube. Any claim that the related screenshots or any other reporting was in any way fabricated or doctored is outrageous and false. The screenshots related to the article, which represent only some of those that were found, were captured on March 23rd and March 24th. So now what we need to do to answer this once and for all is we need to find out who was the person that was monetizing the video on those days, whether or not ads were running on those days, and whether or not the person who monetizes the video had access to those ads. Because look, this is how the digital distribution kind of digital advertising works, right? You have a bunch of people just say, well, look, we're going to spend X amount on these ads, and that means that your premium ads, your advertisements will appear X amount of times. You know, the more you pay, the more views you've kind of paid for, the more times it'll appear, right? Now, if the claimant doesn't have any ties with Coca-Cola, doesn't run Coca-Cola ads, then it's fake. Okay, it's a fake screenshot. So we can find this out. I'm pretty confident of that. But we're going to require some cooperation. We're going to require some cooperation from YouTube. It's definitely in their interests, by the way. We're going to require cooperation from the fucking claimant and maybe even the original YouTuber himself. So it's a problem. It's a labor, but we can get there. Now, anyway, just to be absolutely clear, there are still some factual inaccuracies in the Wall Street Journal and their report. Nobody's profiting off hate. The people that are profiting certainly aren't the people who made the videos. That's key here. That's absolutely crucial. If I create racist content that uses intellectual property that can be claimed, I will not make a fucking penny off it. And in fact, perhaps somebody that I don't want to make money off it might be able to. That's how the system works. So the way they framed it, the way that, oh, you know, these people are making money, disingenuous. But obviously, what they're pushing is that the advertisers, it's the advertisers having this association, this brand association with questionable content. That's what's made the advertisers nervous. Now, again, this is a problem for YouTube to fix. It sounds like they're going to be able to fix it. But in the short to medium term, this is going to affect a lot of YouTubers, especially new upcoming YouTubers. You know, if this was my primary source of income, my arsehole would be pretty tight right now. It would be squeaking because this would be very, very bad. This is going to really affect the money we make. You know, we get like between 50,000, you know, sometimes less, like sometimes 20,000 to 100,000, you know, hits per video. And when I'm working, I can't put a video out every day. So, you know, those earnings, like I say, we put it back into the show, we put it to Sam. This is how Sam makes his living. Sam's probably going to have to take some freelance work to kind of ride out this storm. So the Wall Street Journal definitely needs to clarify its position and report accurately what's going on. If it's about shutting down extremists, how do you feel about H3H3 being affected? How do you feel about Keemstar being affected? Why aren't you saying that isn't the intention of the story? Because clearly, again, that's what it's about politically. Now, just to wrap it up, I thought this was hilarious and probably is deliberate. Again, I don't believe in coincidences. But I saw this report and it was teenagers think Google is cool. Study by Google finds. And you can see the company funded something called It's Lit, a guide to what teens think is cool, which found that it was more cool than Vice, Nike, and Facebook. Today's teenagers think Google and Google brands are cool. Research funded by Google has found. Google published It's Lit, a guide to what teens think is cool, a magazine compiling the results of its research into Generation Z, characterized as those aged from 13 to 17. The Google-funded research found Generation Z relied on brands to shape their world, and that Google was the third most cool. Cool was defined by the researchers as unique, impressive, interesting, amazing, or awesome. So this is interesting, isn't it? It's hard to tell what this study actually means, because given that we're talking about 13 to 17-year-olds, it does feed into that, oh, think of the children, right? And you can see, look, According to the survey teams, McDonald's, Yahoo, and Facebook Messenger were high profile, but not cool. Doritos and Oreos were cool. Vice was not cool. The least cool brands were TMZ, the Wall Street Journal, Sprint, and Yahoo. I mean, they've got that right. But, so here's the thing. You know, what does this mean coming out of this time? Because it's dangerous, because on the one hand, it links Google to children. But on the other hand, it's Google saying, look, children, these youngsters, 13 to 17-year-olds, get a lot of brand awareness from what we're doing. We can actually put your brand and we can connect you with them. And through this association of cool, then all of a sudden we can help get you those eyeballs. You know, we can help make you cool. Our cool can make you cool. Now, I'm certainly nervous about that study coming out after all of this nonsense, because I think what this will do in people's minds is people will point to it and say, look, this is an association of, you know, teenagers using YouTube, and this is why we have a moral obligation to shut down objectionable content. I think that's the most likely way that it's going to go. But that said, if I was one of the advertisers right now that was like trying to hold firm and not putting my advertisements on the YouTube platform, not working with Google, I'm missing out. I'm clearly missing out, because Google is one of those brands that everybody likes, right? Like, so it is a cool brand. It does have that kind of hip, you know, kind of, you know, the kids dig it, right? Bullshit, right? So all of the suits, this is like a Mexican standoff right now in terms of advertising. What we're doing is, we're basically waiting to see who's going to fucking blink first. We've got the Feinberg situation. We've got the advertisers. We've got the YouTubers pressurizing YouTube. And in the middle of it, we've got Google, right, who have to fix this and fix it fast, because so many fractures in the platform mean that it's going to break. The key take-homes in this are that the Wall Street Journal has basically, and other publications, have engaged in a concerted effort to try and shut down and pressurize YouTube to do something about what they call extremist content, which isn't terrorists. It's not neo-Nazis. Sure, they'll take those, but what they really want to shut down, are the people that reach audiences that make counter-arguments to the politics they hold so dear. That's what this is about. And, you know, the people at the top, the money men, they'll just take it. They're like, fuck it, we'll take it. We'll take this fight, even though we don't personally believe in it, even though we're the Wall Street Journal, even though we're conservative-leaning ourselves, because this will generate traffic and attention to our platform. It's a clusterfuck, guys. It's nowhere near as simple as what people are making out. The bottom line is, though, I think we can probably, like, look to the future a little bit. YouTube's going to change. The writing's been on the wall for ages. You know, YouTube heroes, selective demonetization, you know, fucking the mysterious sub bug. There's a bunch of other stuff I'm missing out, I'm sure. Everything, the direction they've been going has been pointing to marginalizing extreme content, marginalizing anything that's vaguely conservative, right-leaning. That's been happening, and that's going to continue to happen. There's nothing you can do about that. But in terms of this advertising issue, I think this will probably get resolved, probably in the next 3 to 6 months. I think they're going to find a tool that's going to enable advertisers to feel more comfortable about coming back to their platform, and they will, because why wouldn't you want to be on fucking YouTube? The idea that the entire platform is done is ridiculous. It's just about who it's for at the end of the day. And I think there'll be alternatives for the more kind of, how shall we say, you know, for the people that want to be a little bit more outrageous, for the people who want to make money and want to find synergistic relationships with advertisers. But honestly, for the average YouTuber, this isn't necessarily their fight, you know. This is a political ideology battle. This is the culture war just writ large for YouTube. Key thing as well, just to put a solution at the end of it, is if you're the type of person that feels very strongly about this, if you see one of your favorite YouTubers being marginalized, again, there's a very easy fix for you to do. Money talks. Consumers have power over these brands. And what you need to do is you need to support the brands that have stayed with YouTube and haven't been pressurized by Feinberg and these cronies, right? And you need to be very strict and firm with the brands that have. You know, if you want to make a statement, then you need to stop buying the products of the brands that left the platform pretending Sargon of Akkad is a fucking Nazi or whatever. You need to now say, right, well, I loved X, Y, and Z, but I'm no longer going to buy it. You need to write letters to them. You need to say, I will not support you. I cannot endorse you while you don't stand for free speech and free expression and have been pressured into, you know, pulling your brands from people that don't actually do the things you think they do. Your own ignorance has forced you to act. And again, support the brands that are on the platform. See all those like little endorsements, like how we've got one at the bottom of the show with audibletrial.com. Audible are never going to tell me to pull that from there. It's basically a fucking affiliate link, but they get good business from what we do. You know, we get a check for anything from $100 to $200 every month because of people, you know, taking up the Audible trial. You know, support people like that. I don't mean use my link, but, you know, you'll see Dollar Shave. You'll see people like, you know, literally engaging with the YouTube. Go support them. Go write to them. Tell them how much you love their products. Because eventually, everyone's going to come back. And the damage to their reputation will stand. Coke will be back. AT&T will be back. Verizon will be back. Johnson & Johnson will be back. Geico will be back. They're all coming back. So, yeah, there you have it. So it probably is a bit too long, as always, but I wanted to break it all down. I think it's very important. I'm going to start digging into this Eric Feinberg chat because he's really the root cause of it all. And these journalists, you know, they're not even doing their own reporting here. They're getting fed a story. They can't even see they're being puppeteered, right, through their own activism, their own stupidity, because they just want to lash out at YouTube because they think, oh, the bad men are on there. That's what this is all about, dudes. So there you have it. Anyway, it's good to be back. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Hopefully see you on the next one. Take care.